What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the H-Town Rundown. This is your boy AD, and I got my co-hosts in the building. We got Auntie Swan and Mike G. We got that boy in Stafford in the building as well, and of course, we got our special guest, Mr. Brandon K. Scott. What up? How's everybody doing?
Doing wonderful. How are you gentlemen doing this wonderful Friday evening?
Go ahead, Mike. I'm gonna let you do your thing, man, because you know how your boy and Stafford do. All I got to do is wait on my wife to bring me this glass, man.
Ah.
We good.
Hey, it's a Friday night, man. I'm glad we made it here with 2 days for game day. I'm ready. Appreciate you, B, for coming in and joining the H-Town Rundown.
Yeah, man. I appreciate y'all for having me, man. It's always a good time, and I respect what y'all doing out here, man. So y'all keep it up.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Let's go right into it, man. We got a game on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. Two undefeated teams going at it. Was it number two overall picks going at it?
That's true.
If I'm not mistaken.
I hadn't thought about that.
2 and 3.
Sam was two.
Yeah.
I thought Sam was two.
Sam was three.
Sam was three. I'm sorry. Okay.
I thought it was 3.
Two top threes.
Yeah, and there you go. Two top three quarterbacks, formerly drafted quarterbacks going at it. Two offensive schemes similar as well. It's a lot of correlation that's going on in this game. I'm really intrigued and excited. I feel like this is the first first true road test. I want to say that Indy is the Stroud House now. So I don't really call that a semi-home game, but no, I feel like this is one of the first true road tests of the season. I just want to get y'all initial thoughts on the game before we jump into the matchups and everything like that.
Yeah. So look, I'll kick it off, man. I think it is the first true test, at all. I don't know if we've seen enough from Chicago to say that that's going to be a playoff team, even though their defense is for real. We'll see what Caleb ends up being by the end of the year. But to me, Indianapolis, I'm kind of already writing them off just based off of not the fact that they lost, but how they played in these first couple of games. I understand they had a chance to beat the Texans, even with how they played. Mm-hmm. But it just did not instill confidence. Like if I was a Colts fan, I would not feel very confident right now in that team. And Chicago is a work in progress. Rookie quarterback, really good defense, but still trying to figure it out. To me, Minnesota, and I wouldn't have said this at the beginning of the year, but Minnesota has been one of the biggest surprises in the league, along with probably New Orleans. I would say those two are probably the biggest surprises across the league right now, New Orleans and Minnesota. And the things that Minnesota has done, I know we're going to get into it throughout the show, but the things that Minnesota has done well are sustainable. I'm not saying that it's going to all work out against the Texans. I'm not saying that the Texans don't have no answer for it, but just overall, running the ball, the way they running the ball, obviously they got that dude, Justin Jefferson, the way that their defense flies around. I think everything about what Minnesota has shown you so far is real and sustainable. So I'm interested to see how the Texans match up.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, what you got?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of Brandon's point there. I mean, the Vikings have been maybe the biggest surprise other than the Saints, and both teams, like the reason for their success definitely comes down to play calling and the system that they're implementing. Somebody had a compilation video of the Saints, all of their touchdowns against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys, their radio, live feed responding to it is pretty glorious, I will say. The Vikings, I mean, they got a tough defense with Flores. He's dialing them up, scheming them up very, very well. And to everyone's shock, Sam Darnold actually looks competent and solid in that offense. I mean, keep in mind, they don't have two of their key pieces in the receiving core. Jordan Addison missed the last game. I don't think he's going to play this weekend either. And TJ Hawkinson's out until at least midseason. So, and at one point, I think it was in the third quarter, Justin Jefferson was out because he had an ankle injury. So, how are they doing this on offense? I know how they're doing it on defense, but I haven't paid really close attention to their offense. So
they run the ball, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They run the rock. That's how they doing it, straight up. And that's what's allowed Sam Darnold to honestly, like, I mean, this is not a knock on Sam Darnold. We already know his story and his career arc. We don't have to like. I'm not trying to clown him, but like just being real about it. They run the doggone football, and I think that's what has opened things up. And then to your earlier point, Michael, about the play calling, that's how they doing it. They got a savvy play caller and offensive schemer, and they got an underrated offensive line and running back. Like what they got going on the offensive line and running back. And then when they do throw the ball, they throw it to Justin doggone Jefferson. So that's how they do it.
Yeah. What you got for
Pretty much, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Pretty much what you guys have said. I am looking for the matchup. I'm also looking at the narratives. Some folks may not think it's important, but we know how players are. It's coming home for some folks. It looks like we got quite a bit of the Vikings, and they got a few of us up there. So I think, everybody wants to show that what they missed and, how great I am here and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that. I am intrigued to watch Flores and D'Amico really go against each other. I mean, my quarterback is better than theirs. So, I mean, there's really not any competition. But looking at what we have on defense, what our rookies are doing, just the whole defense from the front to the back, and then watching Flores because one of his was blitz. So I want to see how our O-line and just picking up those blitzes and so forth, the protection. And I know we got a couple of guys on the center that we are seeing questionable. So I'm not sure who's starting on Sunday. So I'm looking to see who outdoes who, because I think it's going to be a defensive game, to be honest with you.
Go ahead, Larry.
Thank you for allowing me to have this time. I'll let y'all get all that fluff out the way, man. Let me tell you, man. The Vikings played the Giants week 1, man. We know the Giants ain't about shit. Here's what we got: the better head coach. We got the better offensive system, even though it mirrors each other with McConnell and Slowick. We already know they're gonna have problems with our wide receivers because them boys healthy. And I know that it's a big loss, man, because Joe ain't gonna be able to tote that thing. But between Cam Akers, who got a chip on his shoulder, he like Minnesota, but it's reason for him to go back home. And British Brooks and Aguma Wale and all them boys, we got enough things over there on Kirby to make sure that when we go to the Twin Cities, we put foot to ass up there. And the bottom line is, our quarterback is better than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold got all his yards on one play when he hit JJ, the Jettas, man, for that 93-yard bomb. So this is going. The only interesting part about this is that if our O-line go out there, because I think Scruggs is supposed to be back. Mm-hmm. If our O-line go out there and play like we know they're capable of playing, come on, man. I'm going to change my name to 3-0 next week.
That's what I said.
Shout out Sachin. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
Now, what B Scott say?
All right, look, I hate doing this, man. But I gotta caution you real quick because I don't disagree with nothing that y'all said.
Yeah.
But I love the energy too. But this is what I caution myself on. And I made this mistake on the radio last year when they was going into that Jets game. I said, man, ain't no way in hell they're gonna lose to the Jets.
Yeah.
All right. But to Larry's point about the quarterback thing, and Larry is correct, is 100% correct. Yeah, that's biblical what he's speaking. But however, talk about having a better quarterback, and this for you too, Auntie. The better quarterback. Let me remind you of Bryce Young. Let me remind you of Desmond Ridder. Let me remind you of Zach Wilson. That's all I'm saying.
Well, okay.
That's all I'm saying. All of that happened last year. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to pretend like it didn't, even though I feel what y'all feeling. I don't want to act like the team aspect of it don't have to show up. You know, they gonna need more than just CJ being better than Sam Darnold, which we already know to be the case.
Mm.
No,
This,
Like you
I
said.
guess
this
for
ain't the
me,
same. This ain't the same team that went to Carolina, Atlanta, and New York, man.
I
This
agree.
a whole completely different monster. And the way that defense play over there with my boy at the star position, B. Scott, them kind of slip ups last year was a growing process. They had to go through that. This
Let
is
me
another squad right here, man.
let me say
I
this.
mean, are they susceptible to it happening? Yes, any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that. Reason why I say CJ is the only thing that is better than to me the Vikings, because pretty much we're even for the most part. You know what I mean? They got weapons, we got weapons. They got a run game, we had a run game. Our defense, they got a defense. They DC, hey, one of the best. We got one. Our offensive play caller, they offensive play caller. Everything comes across very even. To me, what separates, they don't have anything close. They don't have a quarterback like that. So to me, if you get it, and I think it's gonna be a close game, because I'll get my predictions later on. We get to that part, but I feel like it will be CJ can make the plays, and we saw him do it in the Indy game. I'm talking about this year. We saw him do it the Chicago game. When you needed that third down, when you needed that fourth down, our guy does not panic, and he can make plays. We have not seen Sam Darnold carry a team. So that's why I give us the slight edge, not arrogance. It's just that I think it'll come down to that. And if I need, a third down to get in field goal range, I think CJ can do that. Whereas I've watched both the Minnesota games, they needed turnovers, serious turnovers, to have opportunities. It's not that Sam is making them. So that's why I said it. So it's not arrogance.
Yeah.
For sure.
Um, there are some things that have been going on Twitter. I'll keep saying Twitter. That's been going on X. A lot of storylines that been going on. But before we do that, I feel like I didn't give the proper introduction to my brother B Scott, host of the B Block podcast, host of the H Town Hoops podcast with Adam Spillane. How do you say, correspondent to 610 Sports Radio, Rockets Insider, Texans, talk about Texans. Can I call you Texans Insider as well?
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Some
so
some of the real insiders might take some exception to it, but they know what the game is. They know what
they
time it
ain't,
is.
look, if they ain't on the H Town Rundown, I don't claim them. So um,
Hey,
but
that boy B Scott a real G, man. He just got that A sound blood, man. So he carry a lot of hats, man. So it's love, man. If they hate, they hate.
Straight up.
absolutely, absolutely. So I just wanted to give you your flowers. I appreciate you. I thank you for joining us tonight, live at 5 on H Town Rundown. So I do. If I got everything right, if I missed anything, let me know.
No, you got it, man.
All right,
That's everything. And I will point out on 610 every Tuesday from 11 to noon,
there
and
you go.
every Wednesday at 4:40. Just in case you want to know what time to catch me.
11 to
Hmm.
noon, okay.
Tuesday 11 to noon on In the Loop.
Hmm.
Wednesday at 4:40 on the drive with Clint Sterner and Ron Huber.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Beast got solidified wherever he at. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So there's a few storylines that's been going on. There's a Tank Dell storyline. There is a offensive line storyline that's going on out there with the Houston Texans. Both of those this week have been highlighted as problems for the Houston Texans offense. I'm gonna let y'all pick and choose which one y'all want to talk about, because y'all already know I want to talk about the offensive line, because I gotta fire up some people that's
Okay.
been
Well,
dogging
let's
and
start.
trashing our offensive line all week.
Let's
So
start with the bullshit first. Let's start with Tank, because that's some bullshit I hear already. So let's go and get this out the way.
all right, so the Tank Dell issue or problem that's been floated around is, I mean, he has 11 targets in 2 games. I think he has 4 catches or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody fact check me. And I think he has more carries than he does catches. And so there's a lot of talk about Tank being limited in the offense, and him and CJ's connection is not there yet. I feel like a lot of this is kind of false, and they're kind of putting the blame on Tank, and I don't see why you would put it on Tank. I understand he dropped a pass or two against the Bears, but I don't make that an indictment on him. But I just want to get y'all thoughts about Tank Dell and his role in this offense. We can start with you, B.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's way, way, way too early to be worrying about Tank. And this is the thing about, to me, this is just where I'm coming from with it on Tank and having the multiple weapons, especially once you add Stephon Diggs. We knew that somebody was gonna get less somewhere. But to me, it was gonna be a good problem to have for the Texans overall. And I think that the players themselves are good enough to where they're gonna make the most of their opportunities as they continue to come before them, right? So as long as Tank Dell don't break his leg, I don't even want to put that in the air. As long as Tank don't get, as long as no, you know what I'm saying. But you get what I'm saying.
You said that was help.
The only thing that held Tank back last year was help. You know what I'm saying? Was the end, and then it took a little while for him to get going. But to me, it's a long season. Tank Dell ain't forgot how to play football. He haven't stopped being elite at getting in and out of his breaks. I understand that. I think a lot of the energy might come from a couple of things. Him not catching that ball, and then I think a time or two CJ has also missed him. So both of those things have happened, and I think that's where the conversation come about their connection or whatever. But these boys thick as thieves, man. So it's like I don't really understand that part about the connection. It's just early on in the season.
Thank you.
Give it a little bit of time, and it's gonna all work out. I've even made this point on in several other places. I'll make it here right now. I could very easily see. I might have said this with Sarge. Either way, I could very easily see between Tank, Nico, and Stephon Diggs, each of the three of them leading the team in a different category. Like one might lead them in catches, one might lead them in touchdowns, the other one might lead them in receiving. And who it is, you can decide. But they all of that kind of caliber of player. And CJ understand that, and it's gonna be games like this where you're gonna look up. Watch this happen. There'll be a game where Nico have 3 or 4 catches. Now they might go for 130 yards because that's how you do. But it's gonna happen, and people be like, "Man, why he didn't feed Nico? Where Nico at?" He got an embarrassment of riches at his disposal. Him and Bobby, CJ as the quarterback and Bobby Slowick as the play caller. They got an embarrassment of riches. It's a good problem to have. Tank gonna be fine.
Hey man, look here. See, I try to make these analogies and keep them simple for everybody, man. But when you get your Thanksgiving plate, man, and you got yams and macaroni and cheese and dressing and some mustard greens and all, you see all of it, and you can't eat all of it at one spot, right? Tank Dell did not get, and Barrett made this point too. He didn't really get going until game 3 of last year when he really started, ramping up, right? This ain't no conflict between Tank and Nico and Steph and CJ. This is game 2. These boys really didn't play a whole lot in the preseason. They got to get their timing together and all that. And on some of these plays, it's just that CJ went in another direction, which he's going to have these options because when they open, he's already said, whoever's open, I'm going to get the ball to. And there's been times Tank has been open, man, but that's a part of what this offense is going to look like. Like B. Scott said, and like we all see, they got so much talent on this offense with the firepower they got. It might be this week. It might be next week. But as far as Tank, he still look as fast as he always do. And if you go back and look at the games, you see some of the routes he's running where he's open. But if you look back the other side, Nico pounding them boys in the head. So so this is one of those kind of things that I'm gonna put on Bobby Slowick, man, to try, and him and Gerard, man, to just try to figure out how to continue to make this offense click. Because the bottom line is getting down there in that Chicago game. We blew a whole bunch of opportunities, man, where we had the chance to put them away. But that's how football is, man. That's how the NFL is. It ebbs and flows like that. Tank gonna be fine, man. And I tell you what, when he get going, everybody better buckle up, because then all of a sudden that three-headed monster really become that three-headed monster, man.
So there's been a lot of discussion around along with the Tank Dell conversation. And of course that comes back to what everybody's been talking about, Bobby Sloyd. Um you talk about the three Ferraris that you got,
Yeah.
you know, but you steady pulling out that old Ford, what they call it?
GTO.
Yeah, that old Ford GT. You keep pulling that bad boy out. And I feel like that's what the sentiment is about Slowick so far this season. I think it kind of piggybacks from last season as well. The highs and the lows and the stagnation of the offense, and then they run it back again. This first two games, you expecting to put up 30 plus every game with this offense.
Yes.
With a healthy Joe Mixon, with Schultz as your tight end, with are the three Ferraris, and then you still got guys like Hutchinson and I hate to say it, Robert Woods, that'll still be productive guys in that offense that'll make that offense go. And you haven't put up 30 yet. I understand it's just two games, but a lot of teams feel like we left a lot of this word phrase that people been using, leaving a lot of meat on the bone. As black folks, when we see that piece of chicken wing that somebody gonna put that one bite in and gonna leave it on the plate, you get real pissed off. Like, why the hell you leave that wing on the plate? Like, why you disrespect my chicken like that? And you gonna leave it on the plate? And I feel like that's what people have felt. The offense has been a lot of meat left on the bone, haven't produced. We scored 29 points week one. Honestly, it should have been damn near 40. Should have been 30, at the very least 35 or 34, 35.
Yeah.
And then this past week, we scored 19 points. People feel like the fumble, we say, oh, it should have been 26. It was another couple plays we missed opportunities on. Should have had 30 plus that game. So, I think the Bobby Slowick thing is very, very, is very, very potent. Yeah, I don't feel like it's overblown, but I feel like it's something to keep an eye on. But it's not time to hit the panic button right now.
If this is week 5, 6, 7, and we were looking like this, then I would say, hey, we got some concerns. But it's week 2. I think only one or two teams, Saints are the ones I know that put up major points 2 weeks in a row. Everybody else is still filling themselves out. But Bobby didn't fumble the ball, and Bobby didn't drop that touchdown that Tank could have had. So that's your 14 points right there. So I can't put that on him because the play was called, and you should have been in the end zone, but you fumbled, and Tank should have caught it. So technically, the players, to me, got to get it together.
Well, we ain't kicked a 59-yard field goal, a 58-yard field goal, a 56-yard field goal, and those are scoring opportunities that that normally, if you're gonna be aggressive, and I think that's what everybody wants. They just want Bobby to be more aggressive in some of the play calls that he's doing. But again, the scoring and all that other stuff, man. If you look. We didn't have Juice Scruggs last week, right? So these little kind of things in the offense are going to happen, but you got to be able to allow. This is game 2. This thing is going to work itself out because, again, Bobby got to figure out what he got over there with all them boys and how to make it all work. But I'll say this. The Texans should have an explosive offense, and what's killing them, and I heard this from Mika Kynes this week, and we had already said it, they throwing away downs on first down, man, instead of just trying to go ahead and just come out and just go full throttle, they still running the ball, saying that they need to, set up the run. No, use your passing to set up the run. Don't use the run to set up the passing, and change the tempo on some of the things that he's doing, because that's what stagnates down everything, and that puts CJ in a position where he has to be behind the down and distance, right? If they come out and just be aggressive on first down, which is where they've been getting bogged down at, and you can go look at the numbers, we can pull them. They are not running the ball well on first down, and that's what's causing this in these 2 games. I say just let CJ cook like he's supposed to, and just quick hitters, and then all of a sudden you're going to see the tempo picks up, go no huddle, moving, whatever. But this is not no time to panic when we finna go to Minnesota and kick their ass. So it's just me. I'm just sitting back just waiting, because once Bobby decide he gonna cut loose, everything gonna flow like it's supposed to.
So
we also got to cut down on turnovers. I mean, I'm sorry, penalties. That's killing the I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Penalties, because that is really hurting us. Them damn false starts.
Drive killers.
That is putting CJ behind too, because let's face it, you go from 1st and 10, you're 1st and 15, or you're 2nd and 10, or you're 2nd and 15.
And most of them been on that left side too.
Yes.
That's that Pro Bowl, man. It's that Pro Bowl side.
Been on that left side.
Want to be out first side.
I never figured out why Larry think he got to get that fast of a goddamn jump, man.
I don't know.
Larry, hold on. Let me say
maybe
this.
somebody's understand the snap.
Hold on.
I mean, it's damn.
Hold on. Let me say this, Larry. You've been to the game. You went to the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
You were in the stadium on Sunday. B. I don't know if you were in the stadium on Sunday. Yeah,
for sure.
I was there as well. I'm watching the game. Larry McTunsil and that left leg.
Yeah.
That left leg on Larry Tunsil be moving, boy. I'm surprised we don't have no false start every play on Larry Tunsil, but that left leg be twitching like I don't know what, and I don't know what that got to do with nothing, but that's just interesting for me to watch. But it's a perfect segue into the next topic that I want to talk about real quick with the offensive line, and people been trashing offensive line, saying they've been, ass, they've been bad in the run game, this, and that. We watched all 22 on Tuesday. They opened up plenty of holes. They protected CJ as well.
Yeah,
that was the argument. Like Larry was talking about the non-success on first downs running the football was due to predictability from Bobby Slowick or whatever, that we running the ball, people know it's coming, whatever. But in turn, the argument across the Texan fans is that they're running the ball on first down because the offensive line is not protecting CJ. And I feel like that is just a total fallacy. The fact that people still want to paint this offensive line as if they're, David Culley's offensive line.
Nah.
And we are years removed from that. And right now, the offensive line is currently constructed, has been playing, to be honest, 2 of the best games I've seen Texans offensive line play in like 4 or 5 years. And that's just me. And I know it may not seem like it, but if you just watch them play and watch the individuals, like they're playing good football as a unit.
Some might even call it hellified.
I think people see him being flushed out of the pocket, or when he gets outside. Or when he does take a sack and automatically have that post-traumatic that, oh my God, it's the O-line, we just can't fix the O-line kind of things. It happens. I have a problem with him getting outside the pocket, because let's face it, he be running them darts.
Yeah.
I ain't got a problem. So, if you can't cover Nick on the sideline and everything, I can't help that. So
look, we saw the same thing out of Jared Patterson last year at the center, man, where he physically
he ain't it.
He ain't it, man. Them boys on the defensive line in Chicago was leaning on his ass, and he was damn near backpedaling the moment he hiked the ball.
Leaning on the everlasting arm.
Exactly. But again, when Juice in there, Juice anchor down a lot better than what Jared Patterson does, man. And so the offensive line, man, again, when I went back, when I was watching the game,
Maybe it's a philo.
when I was watching the game on my third or fourth rewatch, there was plenty of holes that if and you know how the system go, they supposed to one cut and go. And there was a couple of times that even Akers could have cut back, man, and still been running or whatever. Joe, same thing. The thing about it is that cohesiveness that they are starting to get with Laramie and Kenyon Green was messed up in the Chicago game because Juice was gone. You ain't heard Titus Howard name called hardly any. You ain't heard Shaq Mason name called hardly any because them boys over there on their right side doing exactly what they doing. The Kickstarter is the one that's putting these boys in the bad spot because they come out there ready to run something high powered and then they back them up 10 yards. The offensive line, as we know, just like with the defensive line, is probably a little bit behind the defense. But at some point, water finds its level. Kenyon Green playing some damn good football. I ain't saying that for you, AD. He's playing some damn good football, and he's mauling folk. So it's just, again, I just tell people, man, when we have these conversations, don't expect what you're seeing right now to be what's going to be over the long term because we know you got to get reps in the National Football League to start figuring out exactly what your unit going to look like. And that's a damn good offensive line, man, from what I'm watching.
So my thing is, AD, I think I look at it a little bit in the inverse in terms of how the offensive line is playing of, like how you said, as a unit, they playing really good ball. I think they have had some moments as a unit where they've played some really good ball. Obviously, that first game, you know, with Joe running for 150 yards and all of that. But for me, when I look at all of it, I feel like it's more so it's a couple of guys that's playing really well and less so of them playing well as a unit. Like I feel like Kenyon Green, like Larry just said, Kenyon Green is playing his ass off. I feel like Laramie Tunsil, when he's not false starting, is still really good in pass protection and could probably stand to care a little bit more in the run game, but he has not been terrible in the run game. I thought Juice Scruggs had a really good game in the first game that he played. Obviously, he didn't play in the second game, and they missed him sorely at center. So like there have been some moments that I would have good things to say about individuals on the offensive line, but as a whole, I personally need to see them be better as a unit, as a group. Now, again, like you mentioned, Larry, Kenyon Green, no notes on Kenyon Green. My man is doing excellent. Juice Scruggs, get well soon, brother, because y'all talk about him in pass protection, bro. I don't know if they thought Jared Patterson was Juice Scruggs or what. It's a play where they hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. I'm trying to remember what point in the game it was.
It was early in the game. I know which one you talking about.
They hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. I don't know if you remember. Jared Patterson's supposed to move up to the second level and block one of them linebackers. I forget if it's Edmonds or Edwards, but both of them is badasses, right? Both the linebackers for the Bears. It's cold. Yeah. Man, I'm talking about he ain't even sniffing. Like and he wasn't moving no quicker than any of us could have moved off the line of scrimmage. Now we obviously not as big or whatever, but we all would have got to the second level quicker than he did. And it was like, and Juice would have mauled, you know, he would have been there where he's supposed to be. I'm like, man, they missing Juice. And again, like in the Indianapolis game, I thought they did have some moments in pass pro early on that messed them up. They also had to deal with that tricky field, that tricky turf, because Titus got beat on the play where it looked like he was getting pushed back, but it looked like he was slipping too, and it didn't look like good tape for him. But I thought a little bit of it had to do with his footing. But that's my thing, man. I want to see them whole and healthy, and more than anything, we talking about they play. But Auntie made this point a minute ago about them penalties. That's been their biggest malfunction because they be drive killers. They'll happen on a third down, especially the ones that we're talking about on the left side between Laramie and Kenyon. That is one note on Kenyon. He got a penalty in both games now. Other than that, he's been pristine. So, like, we just need to clean that up, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. So let me say this: my narrative last year, and I rolled it back again this year. I need my all black offensive line. I need, when you have your all black offensive line, you have success. Um, but
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
huh?
AD say Drew Scruggs the lightest offensive lineman I want out there.
Exactly,
Drew Scruggs
exactly.
light skin with that good hair.
We saw this same thing, man, when the Texans with Kubiak, with Chris Myers and Winston and all them boys, man. Once they got that zone blocking technique and all that stuff down, I mean, you got to think about it still. Kenyon is really finally getting his first taste of grown man football. Juice is only a second year player, but the thing about it is that when I think when Patterson is in there, it makes everybody else job that much harder because he's such a liability. So going back to Bobby and his play calling, you can't have CJ Stroud do a two-step drop, man, with Patterson in there, man. He can't hold up because Patterson is in his lap. Juice in there, he dropped back and hit them quick hitters all day long because Juice has studded up somebody. So I think it's just a matter of just if he comes back this week, man, and anchors back that offensive line, they're gonna clean that up, man. I just want them to be able to continue to grow in terms of just being in one unit so they work together like they're supposed to.
Hey, I don't want to do too many sideboards. This about this. I promise it's gonna be one of my last sideboards. But this boy, till I say is Juice Black. Hey, name me somebody white named Juice.
That was my thought.
Yeah. If he white and got Juice as his nickname, I need to know more.
Exactly.
I need to know more.
Exactly.
Oh Lord. But man, this goes right into the matchups that we want to talk. I wanted to talk about during the game. The offensive line, we can stay right there. Let's talk about it. You got return game, a revenge. I don't want to say revenge game, but you can say revenge game for
Grenard?
Dave, for Jonathan Grenard on
Yeah.
the offensive line. Now, to their credit, Dallas Turner is out this game.
Right.
Um, and I'm gonna just be blunt with y'all. I can't name you the other three defensive linemen on they on their team outside of Jonathan Grenard. But they've been playing really well. They got to Brock Purdy quite a bit last game. What are y'all thoughts about that matchup, the offensive line and handling the Vikings defensive line?
Yeah, man, I think that the Jonathan Grenard element is real interesting just because the Texans didn't really show. I don't know how many people really realize this, but the Texans didn't really show much interest in bringing him back either. Like that was a conversation for a lot of us, media, fans,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more conversation or speculation than it was an actual thing that was happening. And so I wonder honestly, how personally Jonathan Grenard might have taken that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I honestly don't know how much it's gonna matter because again, I think that you got the tackle, you got the right tackle. They'll probably line them up against Titus just because that's a better idea for them. But I think Titus can handle it. Obviously, I think Laramie can handle it. And if for some reason they needed the help, I think they can handle it. I, I'm not really worried about the offensive line outside of the whole penalty thing. I'm
Right.
not worried about them straight up match up X's and O's football wise against the defensive line. I'm more so worried about the defense as a whole and their play caller and their schemer and how they're going to try to confuse CJ Stroud. This is one of the things I tried to talk to CJ and Bobby about as much as I could during the week was like, man, how do y'all balance trusting what you see versus knowing that they're trying to confuse you? Like, right, like you go in there knowing damn well they're trying to confuse you, but you also go up there and you check your mic points or whatever. You do everything you do pre-snap like normal, and you trust your eyes. But can you really? And so that to me is where the conflict is at. I think that the offensive line should be fine outside of, again, I think it'll be more so of what Brian Flores got what kind of trick he got up his sleeve as opposed to the straight up matchup itself, the players themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think Grenard. I mean, they definitely not gonna send him over there to Laramie side because Indianapolis still looking for Latua or whatever that fool name that said they was gonna get 3 sacks. They still looking for Lahi or whatever. And then when we saw the linebackers trying to come at our D line was trying to come at Laramie, I mean, the Texans got bookends at the tackle spots, man. So if anything, they're going to try to attack them on the inside. But again, I think our offensive line is going to be able to hold up. And I think with this game, if I don't know, have they ruled Joe out completely for this game tomorrow?
He's
Doubtful.
doubtful.
So
but
basically, that means he ain't playing.
Okay, but I think again that offensive line should be capable enough to open up some holes for Cam and Aguma Wale and British Brooks or whoever they put out there. But I think, honestly, I think CJ needs to attack because I think the line's going to give him enough time to be able to attack these boys right in the middle with his short intermediate game, man. So I think the offensive line is going to be fine, man. And unless Jonathan Grenard had put on about 30 more pounds, his ass going to run into a brick wall.
let me say this. I'm not too familiar, but one thing that the offensive line has been susceptible to that my boy Madison Johnson said in the comments is those stunts. The communication between the center and guards and tackles on those stunts, where I think week one you saw where Buckner came around on the stunt and got a sack on CJ, and then you saw again in the Chicago game a couple times where we got beat on stunts, especially up the middle where there was miscommunication between the center and guard. We definitely need, to me, that is a concern because I know Brian Flores gets freaky paws with with his defense, but I think that that's something to watch out for. I think in that point of offensive line communicating well to pick up those stunts.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, there's not a lot of star power with the names of the Vikings defense. It is more about Flores and how he's dialing up. Like, who is Pat Jones? Like, he didn't do that much his first 4 or 5 seasons in the league, but he has 4 sacks already this year. I think he got by Trent Williams twice last week for sacks. So they're scheming the hell out of their defense. So this is not a team to take lightly. I do find it odd that Jerry Tillery is starting on their D line because he's been terrible ever since he came to the league. And they got 4 Texans on their roster, but I'm not real intimidated by any of them. Yes, it's going to come down to schematics and picking up those stunts. Our offensive line's got to be cohesive, and we definitely need Scruggs out there. Like, after breaking down the film on Tuesday, like, we can't overstate how important it is to have Scruggs out there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We talked about Brian Flores and Bobby Sloyd. So that matchup is going to be interesting. But I think another interesting matchup off the field, because we're talking about off the field schematics and everything like that, is the D'Amico versus Kevin O'Connell matchup. Texas defensive scheme versus the Vikings offensive scheme. Seemed like they finally got their footing under Kevin O'Connell after a few years of him being the head coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, and with all due respect to Kevin O'Connell, and he deserves it. This is where I expect the coaching matchup to be won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
honestly, I'm. If you asking me, hey, pick one. D'Amico, Kevin O'Connell, like not just as head coach, but just specifically as coordinator, and specifically with this matchup, I like D'Amico's chances. Now, the Slowick Flores thing is going to be interesting. I'm just going to say that straight up. Mm-hmm. And that's where I would kind of go back. I know I kind of pushed back on y'all earlier, but I did ultimately agree with y'all about the CJ point. I think that's going to be kind of the equalizer, or not the equalizer, but the thing that put the Texans over the top on offense, having the better quarterback. and CJ Smart too. But the coaching, but I'm not as necessarily as confident in that coaching matchup as I am on the other side with D'Amico versus Kevin O'Connell. And not just because obviously we from Houston and Texans fans and all of that, but also the fact that D'Amico has, like, to me, he's uniquely qualified and experienced to deal with a Kevin O'Connell, to deal with this type of offense. And if it's anybody that's gonna match up to do it, it would be D'Amico. And you gotta figure them being from a similar type of tree, but D'Amico being the defensive guy, that there's something he'll never cop to this, but there's something beneath the surface there, the competitor in him that want to make something shake against that offense. So I'm picking D'Amico in that one, in that coaching matchup.
CJ said in the press conference earlier this week, said Bobby Sloyd, they got a saying, "You call it, we ball it."
Yeah, they've been saying that. Yeah, that's their thing.
Yeah. So the question is, what are you gonna call, Bobby? It's the question, because I'm gonna say this. That was my criticism, because ain't no way in hell I'm sending Tank Dell on 4 reverses in a game. That, to me, that just, the first time it worked, fine. After that, you got to be able to scheme off of that and call off of that. Don't keep running back to the well, because the well get empty real quick in the NFL. But yeah, so just the question on Bobby, what are you gonna call so they can ball?
Hey, real quick, have y'all heard my thing on Bobby? Like my Bobby critique is that Bobby is a good script writer. He is not good at improv. Like if he was in a theater class, he would get an A in script writing and maybe get a C in improv, if that makes sense. And y'all understand what I mean by that.
He ain't good at playing the dozens.
There you go. There you go.
He just ain't good like your boy Stafford from coming straight off the dome, man. That comes from the streets, man, where you just understand that, look here, man, I got to call plays in the midst of just continuing to move the ball. So he starts looking at that play. And Kubiak used to have this problem, too. He looked at all his plays, and he has so many of them that he called the wrong damn one. There's a simplicity to
Kenny's menu.
Exactly. There's a simplicity to what this offense can do, because I've been on record as saying I don't think they should never be able to not pick up a first down. Because every one of those wide receivers, I haven't seen, and I'll go back and watch, man, on my own, and I thought for sure I haven't seen them get jammed off the line of scrimmage yet.
Yeah, no.
So, cause it's hard to get your hands on Steph and Tank, because them boys get off, it's just immaculate. So picking up 3 or 4 yards on quick hitters, man, with those kind of dudes, and then setting up your run off for that, I think that's what happens when Bobby start thinking, well, I got this play, this play, this play.
Larry, you mentioned that you got those guys. You don't see them being jammed or anybody getting them off the line, but yet in a crucial third down towards the second half, you put Xavier Hutchinson in.
Come on,
man. Have him run a quick slant.
We have too many oxtails on one plate, man.
And look, that to me, that was one of Bobby's major criticisms, is personnel and timing. As far as, like, you literally on that play, all 3 of those guys were on the sideline.
Yes, yeah.
You got Robert Woods on one side, and you got Hutchinson on the other side on the 3rd and 6, and you run a slant in route that's short of the sticks, and expecting Xavier Hutchinson to come in and make the play is
all your dogs standing over there next to your head coach, man. Yeah, so there's not a planet that we should ever live on that all 3 of them dudes are on the sideline all at once, man.
Yeah,
if you take them out, that's telling the other team that you don't have a threat that you really truly have to worry about. Right. Even if you leave them out there for a decoy, but standing over there next to D'Amico, you should have heard me up in my section, man. I'm like, hey, wait, hold on, man. You got all the boys standing over there? No, man, you can't do that, man. That's foolish. And those are the little kind of things that Bobby should have already outgrown by what he was seeing in the preseason. You can't have Stephon Diggs and Nico and them standing on the sideline, man. I don't give a damn what down it is, 3rd and 1 or whatever.
Hey, you mentioned simplicity earlier. How about this simple idea? Y'all tell me if this is simple enough. Don't do something that your opponent would be rooting for you to do.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Like, don't like whatever that is. Don't do that.
Thank you.
If your opponent say, you know what I really like, real quick, just if I could get a play or two with no Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs, no Tank Dell, I mean, I sure would appreciate it. Don't do that. Don't ever do that.
You see the DBs take a big ass breath when them boys standing on the sideline. They like, oh no, man, we can catch one now, man. Yeah, man. No, you don't do what you don't give them a reason to start feeling good about themselves. Punish their ass, man.
So I'm gonna kind of put a clip in it because we've talked about the different facets of the game. I do want to mention about the Killer Cal. Y'all know Killer Cal. Killer Cal in the comments mentioned earlier that not only is it a homecoming or revenge game for Jonathan Grenard, but Danielle Hunter on the other side. And you got Stephon Diggs, but I think Stephon has played the Vikings multiple times in Buffalo.
He has not.
He is, huh?
Nah, definitely not in Minnesota.
Holy shit. I did not
That's
know
what I
that.
said. I gave you the see, you won't believe me. I told you the list.
Okay, so that's another interesting fact. The Stephon Diggs first game against Minnesota or in Minnesota?
I know it's his first back in the Vikings.
In Minnesota. Okay.
Maybe we get us a Music City Miracle like kind of thing like that. Hey.
One, I don't even want to be in no position for no damn Music City Miracle. I don't want to be in no Minnesota Miracle because we shouldn't have to be in no miracle against the Vikings. But I do want to talk about. I know we talked about all that revenge game and everything like that, but I do want to get everybody's one hot take, and then I want to move on to the score prediction because we're pushing time right now. But I need a hot take from everybody for this game.
Okay. Nico Collins will be held to under 60 receiving yards.
Ooh.
He'll be third. He'll be the third leading
game.
Huh?
Who's gonna have a breakout game if Nico's is held to 60?
Diggs and Dale are both gonna be close to 100.
All right. I came up with mine.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Stingley will shut down Justin Jefferson. You wanted
a hot take. Now that's a hot take.
You wanted a hot one. That's my hot take.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Swan.
CJ will throw for 4 touchdowns and over 400 yards and no picks.
He ain't threw for 4 touchdowns since the Buccaneers game.
I know.
Last year.
Trust me, that's a hot take on that defense.
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
My hot take is that Cam Akers is going to run for 2 touchdowns, man, and probably about 80 yards.
Let me say this. Danielle Hunter will be the man child and will have, I would say, 3.5 sacks.
That's what I'm talking about, AD. That's what I'm talking about.
So yeah, that's my hot take.
Hey, these takes, man, these some hot ass takes, man. I can't lie to y'all, man. This shit piping hot.
Yes, sir. So I'm gonna start with Mike G, man. I need to go ahead and get your score prediction, man.
As much as I'd like to see the Texans just destroy the Vikings defense and air it out because run game's going to be a little limited. Not saying Akers can't do his thing, but he's not mixing. I think this is going to be a close game. Again, I think the Vikings are going to scheme some things up that might give us some headaches along the way. But I got the Texans pulling out the dub 22-17.
Ooh.
22-17, huh?
That's a different score. 22. How the hell we get 22?
So we go for 2 to get 24 and we miss it. But we take the lead late in the game.
I got you. Go ahead, Larry. What you got?
You know I got 35-10, man.
There ain't no extra question about it.
Nah, 35-10 where I'm sitting, man.
All right, I got you.
I don't believe in Sam Darnold like y'all do, man. Hit Sam ass on Sunday, man. So 35-10.
All right. What you got, Auntie Swan?
I actually have 23-17.
23-17.
Yeah, 2
You taking
touchdowns.
notes over
Miami
there?
go hit them 3 field goals for us.
Yeah, he posted it, Mike.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
All right.
posting it.
So y'all, I got 21-16 Texans.
Okay.
Ooh.
21-16, so a close one. But I think the Vikings get one touchdown and it's probably rushing, but the rest of their points gonna have to come off of field goals. I got Kaimi Fairbairn only kicking extra points in this game.
There we go.
None of them 50-yarders. This is a stat I'll give y'all, though. The Vikings, through 2 weeks, have only allowed, maybe this is another hot take, they've only allowed 2 touchdowns through 2 weeks. They're going to give up 3 to the Texans. That's where my 21 come from. It's going to be offers just straight up 3 touchdowns for the Texans versus the 3 field goals and a touchdown for the Vikings. That's how I think it's going to go. 21-16.
Yes, we got a few others in there. You know, you got your boy Killer Cal. It say Kirby Killer Cal. 27-17. You got Blue Boy Shine. Texans 28, Vikings 13. Larry Payton. Texans 34, Vikings 16.
That's my dog. That's my dog.
I like y'all. I like all of y'all got them scoring 30-something points
Hey,
against this Vikings defense that's been stingy as hell.
They played the New York Giants.
It doesn't matter. Flores is Flores.
Last week.
Yeah, they beat the 49ers.
Yeah, what about the Niners?
Yeah, without who? Christian McCaffrey and your boy, man. Come on, man. Y'all.
Last year, and they did the same thing to
Let
him.
me say this. Me personally, I'm going to predict 30 points every game until Texans. I don't give a damn what it is. Texans are going to score 30 points. I'm going to say every game.
Yes.
That's what they should be doing. It's scoring 30 points every
prediction.
game. Huh?
That was your real prediction.
That is a real prediction.
No, that's what you want to happen. I'm asking you
Yeah.
what will happen.
What I want to happen is realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Hey, I ain't mad at that, AD.
What you got, AD? What you say it was going to be?
So I got the Texans winning 33-14.
Thank you.
3-14. I don't consider this a close game. You got Chill Out say 35-16. You got Brandon saying 27-13. So everybody's on the Texas bandwagon. We're going 3-0 while the rest of the division is going on 3. Got a 3-game lead. We clearing the division already at the beginning of the season. It's gonna be a lovely day for the Houston Texans. But let me post my little thing right here. I'm trying to type, y'all. What did I say? Texans 33-14.
Yeah. Hey man, it's just fun to be able to see our squad being in these kind of conversations and these kind of positions, man. Because I'm gonna tell you something. This is a legitimate football team. All of it's all lined up, man. With the coaching staff, the quarterback, they got ballers over there, man. These boys ready to go out there and show. Just like against the Bears, man. We show in that national spotlight, man. We show what we're about in the H. And I think going up to the Twin Cities, I might go to Paisley Park my damn self, man.
Go ahead and make that surprise trip.
Don't jump in Lake
Minnetonka. If Apollonia in there, I might dive in there though.
Hey, we talking about it, but let's talk about this. This is a good comment by Brandon. He said Vikings elite defense gave up 319 yards to Purdy and 100 yards rushing on 5 yards to carry to a backup running back. So, I mean,
none of us called him elite.
Points.
Yeah, they didn't score the points, but I think that was because they had turnovers too. So that's credit to the Vikings defense for turning the ball over.
Flores is a good defensive. Hey man, he's a damn good defensive coach, man. But again, we got what my boy C. Raw. We got a plethora of offensive.
Shout out to C. Raw, man. Rest in peace, C. Raw.
Rest in peace, stay raw. I will say this though. if we can keep Stroud well protected, and assuming that Scruggs is in there, those corners from the Vikings, Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy, and 40-year-old Stephon Gilmore, we
Mm,
can cook them. So
mm.
that is a
From your
challenge.
mouth to my ears, Mike G. That's what I've been trying to
Hey,
tell you, man.
speaking of cooking, I need y'all to go ahead and cook on that like button down there. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the H Town Rundown podcast. Follow each one of those handles there at the bottom, including C Roll. There is great content on his Twitter, even though he's gone to glory. There's a lot of great content from spaces and everything that you can go back on. There's timeless content from C Royal. So shout out to C Royal. Stay royal. But yeah, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the podcast. Follow the H Town Rundown, myself, Mike G, Auntie Swan. Go ahead and follow Larry and Stafford. You see his handle down there. And of course, our esteemed guest, Mr. Brandon Scott, as well. So I do want you to go ahead and let everybody know be where we can find you, follow you. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I just need you to reiterate it for the people that came in late, because like color folks, they come in late and they want to rewatch.
Yeah,
Well, we have non-color folks that come in late too. Now,
They no color is all colors.
yeah. So for everybody that's operating on CP time, no matter what color you actually are, the B Block podcast is available twice a week. The H Town Hoops podcast will be available at least once a week during the basketball season. That's with me and Adam Spillane covering the Rockets and the NBA. And then, of course, Sports Radio 610. Catch your boy every Tuesday at 11, from 11 to noon on In the Loop, and at 4:40 every Wednesday with the Drive.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Absolutely. Hey, this has been another great episode of the H Town Rundown. I want to thank my co-host, Auntie Swan. That's gonna be your new name, Swan, is Auntie Swan. Auntie Swan and Mike G, and of course Larry and Stafford, that boy and Stafford. So we will see y'all on Tuesday. I said it last week. I've been saying the last 2 weeks on a Victory Tuesday when we watch the All 22. And we'll see y'all next week, man. Peace.
I holler.